is my daddy's station. I'm Pooh, classic radio like you always wished it could be. 101.1 FM, Eager.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, during this narrative, remember that I am reading from an esoteric revelatory book that it can only be found in the hidden libraries of the fraternal orders around the world, the secret societies, which at the very top hide the full body of adepts known as the Illuminati. So pay very close attention, and you're going to learn an awful lot about what makes them tick over the next few broadcasts. I begin. Little could the ancient mythologists and sages have foreseen that the fabulous narrations which their genius devised to cloak high truth would end by plaguing the mind of the Western world with 16 centuries of unconscionable stultification. They could not possibly imagine that their allegorical constructions to dramatize spiritual truth would so miscarry from their hidden intent as to cast the mental life of half the world for ages under the cloud of the most grotesque superstition known to history. Nor could they have dreamed that the gross blindness and obtuseness of later epochs would cite these same marvelously ingenious portrayals as the evidence of childish crudity on the part of their formulators. Who could have suspected that a body of the most signal instrumentalities for conveying and preserving deep knowledge ever devised by man would become the means of centuries of mental enslavement? Nothing more clearly evidences the present age's loss of fixed moorings in philosophical truth than the inconsistency of its attitudes toward the sacred scriptures of antiquity. The general mind, indoctrinated by priestcraft, regards them as infallible revelations and holds them as fetishes, which it were a sacrilege to challenge, while theological scholarship hedges from pious veneration of them over to outright skepticism of their divine origin, swinging more recently to a view which takes them to be the simple conceptions of men just emerging from cave and forest barbarism. The character of divine dictation and absolute wisdom assigned to them on the one thesis has yielded to that of ignorant speculation of primitive folk on the other. That there is a possible truer characterization of them lying midway between the extravagances of these two extreme views has not seemed to come through to intelligence at any time. It has not occurred to students of religion that ancient scripts are the work neither of supreme deity on the one side, nor of groping infantile humanity on the other, but that their production must be sought in a region intermediate between the two. They came neither from supernal deity nor from common humanity, but from humanity divinized. They were the output of normal humans, graduated to divine or near divine status. St. Paul's, quote, just men made perfect, end quote. Their divinity is therefore not transcendent and exotic, and their humanity is not crude and doltish. They bear the marks, therefore, of human sagacity exalted to divine mastership. We have here the ground for the only sane acceptance of the ancient scriptures as books of accredited wisdom. We are neither asked to believe them inscribed by the finger of omnipotent deity, nor forced to attribute them to the undeveloped brains of primitives. They can be seen as the products of the sage wisdom garnered by generations of men who had finally risen to clear understanding. They are the literary heritage bequeathed by men grown to the stature of divinity. Their veneration by the world for long centuries, even carried to the extreme of outrageous sycophancy, attests an indestructible tradition of their origination from sources accredited as divine and infallible. Their successful hold on the popular mind for many ages bespeaks also the unshakable foundations of their wisdom. They have withstood consistently the test of generations of human experience. Their wisdom holds against life. It reigns true, and it is all the more precious to us because of its authorship by men of our own evolution, since thereby it does not miss immediate pertinence to our life. Both the conventional views of Bible authorship have militated against the possible high service of the Scriptures to mankind. The theory of their divine dictation to holy men of old has led to the abject surrender of the rational mind before their impregnable fortress of direct assertion, its hypnotization by a fetish, and the crippling of its native energies. The theory of their production by early crudity tends to the disparagement of the value and validity of their message. The other view here advanced preserves their venerated authority while it brings their authorship from alleged cosmic divinity back to men of earth. It preserves mental integrity by enabling us to assign scriptural authorship to human agency, where it alone is acceptable. It is understandable that evolved men with vision opened to knowledge of the laws of life would indite sage tomes for the enlightenment of those less advanced. In any case, the Bibles are here. They must be accounted for. The phenomenon of their existence among the nations, their hoary age, their escape from destruction through the centuries, the ineradicable tradition of their divine origin and authority, their almost universal veneration, must all find some factual ground of explanation. The theory offered in refutation of the two conventional ones seems the only one that provides such a rational and acceptable basis. And since the belief in their sacredness generally persists, it cannot be regarded as less than momentous that the world should know of a surety that, while these revered relics are not the voice of the personified cosmos, neither are they the mere speculative romancing of cavemen or scholastics. They are the sure word of perfected wisdom. There was a time, then, in early human history, when enlightened men possessed true knowledge, the passport to wisdom. Clear and concise answers to the profoundest problems of philosophy were known. Insofar as the human intellectual faculty is capable of it, an understanding of the mystery and riddle of life itself and the laws of its evolutionary unfolding was achieved by men who, as Hermes says, had been, quote, reborn in mind, end quote. Philosophy was no more, quote, speculative enterprise, end quote, or tilting at logical windmills. It was a statement of the fundamental archai, or basic principles of the science of being. It formed the groundwork for the elevation of theology to its true place as the king of sciences, or the kingly science. Together, philosophy and theology held the throne in the mental life of mankind, and justly so, for a reason which modern thought would do well to consider. They must ever be the ultimate science because they motivate finally the use we make of all other sciences. They hold final answers to all life's problems. They are the determiners of all human action in the end. They alone can direct man finally to the path of good, or by no other means can he learn to know what constitutes the good. The sore need of the world today is the restoration of philosophy to supply the proper motivation and end of action. Though zealous